Oh yeah, look at this guy. Thinks he's cool driving with his hood up. Oh yeah. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Mustang in for some work again. As always, Fords always need work. Mustang especially looks a lot better in the dark, and now it's in the daylight, so it really looks like dog shit. It's that owner, I think, not cleaning it again. So what we're gonna do today is changing that alternator that is down in there under all this bullshit. So, and now the engine is probably extremely hot to the touch. So we're gonna get burnt and such. So definitely gonna wanna let it cool a little bit, but throttle body and all that's gotta come off. So we will start disassembly as soon as we can't get burnt. Lovely, and there's the new one. It's just a great day. First things first is you're gonna unplug the throttle body plug here on that side and this side. Get those out of the way and get rid of the tube off of your intake line or hose or boot, whatever you want to call it. So get that all out of the way. Next thing we can do is remove the throttle body, and then from that point we're gonna have the plate for the alternator exposed. So on your intake boot here, you're gonna have one 5/16 clamp here and one 5/16 clamp there. If you can't figure that out, maybe you should take it to a mechanic. On the throttle body, you will have basically your studs on the bottom, as you can see right there, which are I believe a 10 mil socket for the nuts and an 8 mil socket for the bolts that go on the top here. So you'll pull that off, and then what you're going to want to do before you even mess with the bracket for the alternator or any of that is we're going to take off the belt and loosen the tension by the tensioner and get the belt removed. And you definitely want to make sure that you know how your belt goes back on. Sometimes the vehicles will have, like on the stickers, they'll have the routing of the belt. They don't always. So a good thing to do is just draw yourself a little picture, a little map of how all the pulleys and how the belt wraps around it, so you can get it exactly the way it was before. So if you look at this little sketch right here, it looks like a person falling. There's the arm, there's the legs, and the head. So basically, I drew every single pulley in there, which there's 9 of them, and just drew them all out, kind of rough, obviously, and then just drew the way the belt goes around every single one of them. And then when you go to put everything back together, put the belt back in, you can route it exactly the same, and you're not sitting here for an hour scratching your head trying to figure out which way they went on. So it makes things a lot easier and a lot quicker and time efficient for sure. So we will get the tensioner off, or the tension off the belt, pull the belt off, and then we can begin to remove the alternator. So the way that you remove the tension off the belt, obviously the belt is off, but you're gonna take your 1/2-inch drive and you can literally put it right in. I don't know how well you can see that, which you were going to be able to in a second. So right down in there, you can shove your 1/2-inch drive right into that hole. And then all you gotta do when you have it down there is just slightly push down on your wrench, and the tension will basically be relieved. It's really simple and really easy. So now we can remove the bolts on the alternator, and then we have some on the bottom as well that we will have to remove also. So got the old one out here, and mainly all you're gonna have, this is obviously the new one, but you're gonna have the wire that you need to take off from the backside, which is a 10 mil, and then you have your plug. So you only need 2 wires, and you didn't have to pull off the entire bracket, but we did anyway, just so we could transfer it onto the new one, because with the old one in place, if we would have left it screwed fast here and here, it was kind of hard to get in there. You had to use a wrench to get in underneath the manifold there. So it's going to make it a little bit easier to mount it ahead of time before we throw it in, and then we don't have to do it and mess around with it later after the fact. So we did get that, and you might have took notice the intake is out of the way. We actually did some other work with the headlight and had to kind of pull some stuff apart here to get at the bulb and everything. So we're going to begin the assembly process, and it's basically just the same that you took it apart. So we're going to put both of these screws or bolts back in, bolt that fast, put the alternator back in the car, put the wires back on, and bolt it back fast, bolt the bracket fast, and the two studs down below. Right there's one, and there's your second one, those two, and then you can begin reassembling everything else. Both bolts are back in on the bracket, and the alternator is tight in there. Both bolts or nuts on the bottom are also in. So you're gonna have 2 nuts on the bottom, 2 bolts on the top, and then your other 2 bolts when you swap the alternator out. And we relieve the tension on the belt and put the belt back on. And you wanna make sure it's definitely in all the grooves and aligned right. And so just to double check ourselves, we'll refer to our little picture here, which shows it going over the top of the alternator, which it is, down on the bottom side of that one. Then it goes all the way down to the bottom pulley, which it is. And then it comes back up around that one, which it is. Back down around the crank pulley, which it is. Around that one, which it is. And then around that one, and so it is back exactly how it was when we took it off. So at this point, what we're going to do is clean the throttle body before we stick it back on. It is a very good opportunity to do that now with it being off. So definitely take advantage of that and clean your throttle body, because this one is not horrible, but it could definitely use a little bit of a cleaning. So we're gonna take care of that right away before we throw it back on. The car is running smoothly and perfect. So everything is back the way it was. The belt is back, the intake is back, the intake boot is back. So everything is good as far as that goes. So if you needed help changing an alternator in a 2006 Mustang GT, and there might be a few, I'm sure there's a few years in there where they're all the same. So this was definitely a how-to on how to do that. It's very, very simple. It's not hard to do at all. So if you guys have any questions, comments, be sure to leave them below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, share the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day.